I bought my first house after I had an affair with my real estate agent, and now she's threatening to tell my wife. I had an affair with my real estate agent so that I could get my first house, but now I've come to regret it. I've always seen myself as a morally grey person. I don't pretend to be good, and I don't pretend to be bad. I do what I can to get to the end goal. This has often led me to making some selfish decisions, all for my own benefit. I have always been the lone wolf, with no family. I grew up in different foster care homes where I could never feel like myself. All of the friends that I had, I eventually lost, except for one, my good friend William. But then William betrayed me in the worst way possible. Till today, he does not know that I know what he did. I remained friends with him, but I never trusted him again. When, years later, his wife offered herself to me so that I could secure my first house, I had to think about it. I wanted to finally have a house for my wife and our daughter. We'd been struggling for a while, and at the time we were staying with her parents. They told us that we could stay as long as we wanted until we got our own place. We saved and saved for years, but the money was just never enough. And then I saw it, the house that my wife fell in love with. I hated to tell her that we didn't have enough money for the deposit. It was not that big or that beautiful. The reason why she loved it was that it was old, it had a garden, and it was close to all amenities, which would make it easier for me to get to work. She also felt that she could plant some vegetables so that we could be self-sufficient. I decided that I needed to do anything that I could so that she could get the house. My wife and my daughter were my main priorities at all times. I found out who was the real estate agent. She was a woman that I'd never met before, or so I thought. What I didn't know was that this was the woman that William married. What would transpire between us would be one of the things that I'm not proud of. I'm going to take this secret to the grave, but it's been eating me up on the inside. When I did what I did, I thought about the end result. I thought it would be once off and then I would never have to touch her again. What I didn't know was that I was making a deal with the devil, and she was not so kind to let me get away with it. I met up with Sheila, the agent, and told her about our situation. I told her that I was making enough at my job to cover the mortgage. It was just the deposit that was a bit hefty. Sheila was a very quick-witted and intelligent woman, but she seemed to lack compassion. She told me that there was no way she could do that or even let me pay the rest of the deposit within a couple of months. Sure, I could have borrowed it, but that would have put us in a worse situation than the one that we started with. And then one day, she sent me a message telling me that she had changed her mind. She could do it, allow me to pay what I had as the deposit, and then we could make arrangements for the rest. I was open to anything if it meant that my wife could be happy. I will not delve too much into it, but my wife can get a bit emotional if she doesn't get what she wants. I try my hardest to make sure that she gets what she wants, because when she's not happy, then I'm not happy. So then I met up with her in the strangest meeting ever. We met at the house in the evening. She told me how everything was going to go. Then she told me she had a favor to ask of me. I asked what it was, and she said, "One night with me." I asked what she meant. She told me that I knew exactly what she meant. She needed to sleep with me. I was repulsed. I could never step out of my marriage. If Maria found out, she would lose it, and everyone involved would suffer. I told her no thank you and made to leave. But then I thought about how before I left, I told Maria that there'd been a breakthrough and we were so close to getting the house. Now imagine how she would feel when I came back and told her that our dream to have a house was only to remain a dream and become nothing more. I've done some things that I'm not proud of in my life, but I've been wanting to change. This was going to set me back so far. And then I found out that she was my so-called best friend's wife. You do not need to know the details, but my best friend William is very well off. He has a perfect life. Everyone loves him, but they don't know the truth about him and what he did to me so that he could get here. He too does not know that I know. I've been thinking of a way to get back at him for years. When we saw him at a gala and his wife and he bragged to me about how they'd just bought a new car, my rage from years ago returned. That night I told his wife that it would only happen just once and then we were not to see each other again. I was confident that once this was done, I would get the house and we would move on. So that is what happened. I'm ashamed to admit that I slept with her, and she made sure that we got the house. My wife was happy, and I was happy that at last we had a home to call our own. At least now we were not staying in her family's home. It's been about 3 years since what happened. My wife and I are still doing very well, and we've just welcomed a beautiful baby boy. I've recently gotten a very big promotion, which means more pay for me. I've not seen Willie and Sheila in over a year. They moved away because he got a position somewhere else. With him far away, I've not had that much pressure to maintain a friendship. I've not thought about what happened with Sheila. My wife can never find out how we got this house. I did feel guilty for a very long time after what happened. It sure as hell didn't help me to feel less anger towards Willie. But what has happened is that I've developed more as a person over the past few years. While a long time ago, I might have seen what I did as a necessary evil, now I just feel like what I did was wrong and I need to pay for it. I'm not a religious person, but the number of times that I've walked past a church or anything that symbolizes religion and wanted to ask for forgiveness is too many. It's worse that my wife loves this house, but lately all I can think of is that I do not want to live here anymore. I have enough money, I want to buy another house, and this time I want to do it the right way. I've told my wife, but she doesn't seem to understand, and she's gotten more upset with time. Staying here is affecting me. I've never felt comfortable here, and she doesn't understand. I know that I will get a judgment from you. I'm prepared and deserve every part of it. But I want to know, when you've had to do something for the greater good, how have you cleansed your conscience? I never used to have a conscience when I was an orphan that no one cared about, but now that I've betrayed my family, I feel something there that could be my conscience. Or maybe I should just do the inevitable and tell her. I would, but she's so delicate that it would destroy her, so I don't know what I should do now. I'm so torn. Update, a month later. Things have gotten worse within the past month. I cannot hear myself think over the past few days sometimes. All I can do is debate with myself and think of solutions to the problem that's arisen. Sheila is back in town and she has a 2-year-old son named Angel. My wife brought her to our house for dinner a couple of weeks ago. Already I was panicking about how Sheila is back in my life and how she makes me uncomfortable. That dinner was the most awkward dinner. Another thing that made it even weirder was the fact that I couldn't stop staring at her son. A part of me wondered if he was mine. Maybe my mind was playing tricks on me, but he looked so much like me and our 2 kids. Sheila acted normally throughout the dinner, not giving any hint of what she was thinking. Meanwhile, I was cooking from the inside with anxiety. I still did not know why she was back in town. "Did you come back with William?" I had to ask. "No, Will is still out of town. I'm thinking of moving back here long term. Business is better this side," she shared. After dinner, she asked me to drive her home since her car was having some problems. The car ride was quiet and a bit awkward. She kept on staring at me and I could see it from the corner of my eye. I walked her to the door and told her goodbye, but then she stopped me. "Come in, for a nightcap," she smirked. I paused and then shook my head. "Come on, we've done it before, plus your wife will not notice that you'll be a couple of minutes late," she smiled, and then she kissed my cheek. I turned around at that moment and rushed back to my car. I could not pull out of her driveway fast enough. That night was weeks ago, but I still think about it and I don't know how to feel. I'm probably already going to hell anyway, so I might as well say this. My wife and I have been missing a spark in our marriage. It's been suffering for longer than you might think. I stay with her out of duty and because I cannot imagine not loving her, but there are some things at play here that make things more difficult. With Sheila, it would have been easy. After all, I've done it before. Oh my, I really need help. My wife is a good person and she doesn't deserve a dirtbag like me as a husband. I'll stop thinking about Sheila and work on our marriage. I know we can make this work. We just need to make some effort. I do not want to lose her. Update, a few months later. I thought that I'd figured it out, but boy was I wrong. I told myself that I was going to make more of an effort with our marriage. I wanted us to be just like we were when we were young, so I started to buy her gifts, take her out to dinner, weekends away, etc. I also became more involved in family life to give her a bit of a break. Once I got her vouchers for the spa, and I spent the whole day taking care of the children. Breaking away from the monotony of married life and going back to show how much we loved each other was the best choice I could have made. We were so happy together, and I felt very fulfilled in my life. Until that witch Sheila decided to ruin everything. It was like she was everywhere that we went. I tried my hardest to ignore her, but it was like she had my scent and she could find me at any time that she wanted. When she texted me, I deleted the texts and even archived her number, but she kept on going. I couldn't draw too much attention to how she was stalking me, as that would lead to more questions, so I blocked her. Until one day, I found her and her son sitting in our living room. I asked her to leave. Her obsession was getting too much. She told me that she wasn't going to leave until she told me what I needed to hear. I told her she could tell me afterward, but she had to leave me in peace. She told me that she could not guarantee that. She needed me to support our child and she wouldn't leave us alone. I was taken aback by what she said. Child? The thought once crossed my mind, but I never allowed myself to imagine it being true. It would ruin my marriage. I told her that the boy was not mine, and if she was looking for excuses to resume the affair, it wouldn't happen. Over the years, she attempted to sleep with me when we were alone, but I never took her up on that offer. The mistake that I made was once off, and it could not happen again, and she had to respect that. She told me that she wished it wasn't the case, but she knew as soon as he was born that he was not William's. I lost all my strength. I had to sit down before I fainted, so then I asked her what she wanted. She told me that she wants me to support her and the boy financially. Currently, she's split from William. They had a falling out over something. Her real estate is not going that well, and she needs me to help her until she gets back on track. I didn't think that it was too much to ask. I told her to give me her bank account details so that I could send money, but if she dared to say anything to my wife, then the money would stop coming. It's been months now. She's out of town, but I'm still paying her. So far, she's remained silent, but there is a problem. Each month, she has more and more demands. At first, she asked nicely, and I complied, but now I'm starting to feel like she's using me. I've also started to think that maybe the boy is not my son and she's just pulling my leg. I recently looked into her family and have seen that she's back with William, and she calls him William's son. If she's back with William, then it means that she's getting money. I don't know why I have to pay her so much money when she already has money. It doesn't make any sense. To add insult to injury, I've just received an invite, and my wife did too. William and his wife are hosting a gala in this part of town. It will be a charity gala to help with animal rescue. When I saw the invitation, I knew that I didn't want to go, but then my wife saw it and she told me that she wanted to go. I made excuses, but then she got very depressed. My wife struggles with depression and anxiety, which is why she's not been able to work for years. She used to be a surgeon, but when her problem started, she couldn't practice anymore. She nearly killed a patient in surgery, and after that it was hard for her to work in that field. She tried other jobs, but she found them depressing, so I took it upon myself to always make sure that she's happy. This means that 99% of the time, she gets what she wants, and this is another one of those times. In 2 weeks, I'm going to the gala. I have a very bad feeling about that night. I do not know what will happen, but I do know that it will be very explosive. I wish that I was exaggerating, but trust me, I feel like everything I've ever done is coming back full circle, and maybe I'm very much scared. The dreams that I've been having have not helped. In those dreams, I'm exposed and my wife stabs me. In another one, William loses it and commits a very big crime. The dreams are so real, that's what's scary about them. But I wake up and nothing's there. I must admit that I'm relieved. Update. It's been a week since the gala. So indeed, the dreams were a premonition of what was to come on that day. I was not the only one whose chickens came home to roost in the gala that people are still talking about right now. I'm still shell-shocked over what happened that night. I still see it crystal clear in my mind. We went to the gala a week ago. Many of our friends and people I know from work were there. My wife for once was excited and not anxious about the gala. She was socializing with people, laughing and having fun. It was nice to see her like this for once. It was late in the evening, while the party was in full swing, that I came across my old friend William. We exchanged pleasantries as usual, and I went on to tell him how well he looked. I then asked him where his wife was, and he gave me a strange look. He told me that she couldn't make it to the gala, and then refused to say anything more about the topic. I was relieved, for this meant that the night was not going to end in ruin once more. While I was having fun, I got a text from her. She was telling me that she needed $10,000 ASAP. I told her that I didn't have the money. She told me that she could just tell my wife everything if she wanted to. I went outside and called her. We spoke for about 5 minutes, but within those minutes she could not be reasoned with. And then my phone flew out of my hands and I was being dragged back inside. William threw me on the floor and he spat at me. I was shocked, asking him what he was doing. "Don't speak anymore. You've gone too far with this. By the way, the boy is not your son," he shouted. Everyone gasped and came closer to the commotion. My wife tried to make her way to him, but he told her to back off if she didn't want to get hurt. "You should have stopped when you slept with her to get the house, but you did not. You continued to lust after my wife, and you still are." He was so angry I could see it pulsing through him. "That's not true. It was only once," I tried to explain. "Once? You slept with Sheila? Once?" my wife screeched. She made to come at me, but someone stopped her. The look in her eyes was one of pure heartbreak. What I didn't want to happen happened in the end, and it was all my fault. I got up, stood to face him as a man, and said, "I'm sorry for what I did. It was a one-time mistake 3 years ago. She came back and told me that your son was mine and she demanded child support," I explained. "I knew she was milking you for nothing. I had a DNA test done on my son as soon as he was born. I could never trust her. She sleeps around. I found out that she was getting sent money every month, but I didn't know who it was from. And then I tracked it down to you. This ball is so that I could let everyone know who the Honourable Joseph is." His eyes were cold. He was not going to have mercy. He was going to destroy me once again, and this time I was not going to be able to get up again. "It is funny that you question my honour when you do not own up to your own mistakes," I said. "I do not sleep with people's wives. I have my honour intact," he said. "No, you do not. Instead, you sabotage your friends so that they miss opportunities that could have set them up for life," I replied. He made out as if he didn't know what he did to me those years ago. I never brought it up with him because the memory of it was too painful for me. I looked for a way to get revenge for years, and when it was presented to me, I took it. I admit that I was a jerk, and I ruined many lives, but he was an A-class one. When I was 17, I was very good at running. I had some sponsorships, and everyone always said that I was destined for great things. I met William in my athletics club, where we became good friends. He was one of the few people I trusted. When my foster parents wanted to send me back, he got his aunt and uncle to take me in so that I could stay at the school. It was an open secret that I was going to be scouted. I already had sponsorships and I had a name for myself. He was also very good, but he was always second. Then there came a day when the scouts came. There was news going around that a full scholarship was going to be awarded to the winner. It was also the day they decided to do a random drug test. Using performance-enhancing drugs was very common amongst many athletes at the time. It was a routine for drug tests to be done. Even small traces of something could have gotten someone kicked out of a competition. I did not take that stuff. I got where I was through hard work and dedication. So, imagine how I felt when my coach pulled me aside to tell me that I was out of the running because they found PED in my system. I lost everything overnight. Friends, sponsorships, and support. Once the high school hero, and now just a nobody. Then, to make it worse, I found out that he was the one who did it to me so that he could get everything that I had worked hard for. I found them in his car a few days after. He had taken me fishing so that he could cheer me up. Best friend of the year. I saw them in his car, and I remembered that every day he'd given me a smoothie. I could have bet that he was the one who sabotaged me, but I said nothing to him. I was too stunned. I still went to college, but I never wanted to run again. He, on the other hand, got all the right connections, and by the time he finished college, at my dream college, he was set up for life. Ever since then, I've been 5 steps behind him. I'm talking about how you spiked me for days with performance-enhancing drugs so that you could take my spot for that college scholarship. I finally said it. He stepped back. He looked dazed. He tried to speak, but he could not. He couldn't lie about it. His face showed the whole truth. He admitted that he was the one who framed me and cost me my career. "Did Mark tell you about it?" he asked. "Wait, your cousin Mark was in on it too? Your family is a bunch of traitors." I shook my head. I was so disgusted by what they'd done. I thought that they were my real friends, but they were not. They were just traitors who lied to my face for years. They acted like they felt sorry for me when really they did not feel any remorse. I laughed bitterly as he tried to explain. "Your wife approached me, by the way. The first time I said no. I did not know that she was your wife. But then, when I saw you two together, I thought that I could stick it to you." I told the truth. I thought it would feel good to know that I'd gotten back at him. The entire room was filled with silence as people tried to digest what was going on. I turned to leave, seeing that my wife was already by the door. I saw our car pull out of the parking lot, and I let out a silent curse. In my little showdown with my former best friend William, I'd forgotten that my wife was listening to me. Suddenly, the adrenaline that I'd been feeling gave way to pure dread. She found out. This was going to break her. I had done this, all for revenge. I realized then how stupid it was that I was trying to get revenge for something that happened in high school. As I stood there in the cold parking lot, wondering where the nearest motel was, I realized that this was all my fault. I'd lost everything that one night, my wife, my best friend, and my integrity. I only hoped that I was not about to lose more. Update, about a year later. Hi everyone, it's me, your favourite mess of a human. I really did mess things up, did I not? My wife didn't speak to me for weeks afterward, and when she did, she told me that she was taking the kids and moving with them back to her parents' house. I moved back into the house, and I never had a house that felt so empty. Without my wife and my kids, I was nothing. I drowned myself in self-loathing, going to work, coming back, and sleeping. I sent her many messages until I stopped and decided to give her space. In those months, I was trapped within my thoughts as I wondered who I was and who I wanted to be. I realized that even though I claimed Will stole everything from me, I actually turned out well. I had a family who loved me and a very good job. There was nothing more that I could ever want. It was so sad that I lost all that I loved because of one stupid night. I decided to put the house on the market. Sitting in it every day depressed me. I waited day by day for my wife to call me and tell me that she wanted a divorce. She never did. She showed up at my new apartment one day with the kids and told me that they missed me. She noticed that I was so much thinner now, so she decided to cook for me. She spent the night and told me that she would be back on the weekend. True to her word, she was back that weekend. She came back several days in a row, and soon the tension between us faded. I apologized for what I did to her, and I let her know that I would give her all the money I got from selling the house. I would also support her financially. She simply smiled and said there was no need. She forgave me. If I did it again, there would be no questions asked and she would be gone. I was shocked that such goodness could exist for me. I did very bad things and I do not deserve forgiveness. But this woman showed me that you could come back from the point of no return. We've been back together for 6 months now and are looking to purchase a new home for ourselves and our kids. She's also been taking her anxiety treatment seriously and has found an admin job at a hospital. She hopes that with time she will go back to doing what she really studied for. As for me, I try every day to be a good father and a good husband. I'm honouring the vows that I took and am serious about them. William and I do not talk anymore, but last I heard, he and Sheila are divorcing. It's none of my business, so I've not inquired further. Well, what do you think about this one, guys? The OP definitely made some morally questionable choices. What do you think about how it turned out for him? Was his wife right to forgive him and return? Do you believe him when he says he's changed and will be a better man? Honestly, I feel sorry for the wife and children, but if she thinks that they'll be happier together, it's up to her. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching and see you next time.